Welcome to DAX Machina, with your hosts, Naoma Finn, Steve Wildman Munrodis, and D.A. Roberts. Join us as we explore writing, books, authors, and all things horror. We will delve into the sightings, reports, encounters, and tales of monsters. We will also explore the writings of D.A. Roberts along with others in the horror genre. We will investigate the possibilities that monsters may not be safely locked away in the pages of books. They might just walk among us even now. Grab some popcorn and lock the doors. It's going to be a creepy journey. Welcome to DAX Machina.
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us on another edition of DAX Machina. Joining us tonight is my usual partners in crime, Steve Wildman Munrodis and Carrie Pocket Doc Davis. And we have a special guest tonight. Author Anthony M. Strong is here tonight. His series is, it's pretty fantastic, and we're going to jump into that here in just a minute. But I think you guys are really going to like it. You know, for those of you that are familiar with my books, you're going to find his books are very similar in the same type of genre, and I think you guys will really enjoy them. Anthony, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Doc, how the hell are you?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
Old joke from the movie Tombstone. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Steve, what are you drinking tonight?
I have found a really neat little beer that Boulevard put out. They call it a bourbon barrel quad, and I had to look up what a quad was, but apparently a quad is like an amber stout that's very high alcohol. But it's a tasty little thing. Very, very smooth, deceivingly smooth. So, you know, if I get a little slurred, I'll apologize in advance.
Into your cups, so to speak.
Yeah,
into my cups. Yes,
I saw that picture and I was intrigued. That sounds kind of tasty.
Oh, that was Goose Valley Brewing Company's bourbon barrel stout. I guess they only do a limited run each year, and so that was a 2020. It's about 18% alcohol, and they sell it in a quart bottle. And I will say about 2/3 of the way through it, I didn't even care what I was drinking anymore.
Holy hell!
It's been a long time since a beer has got me a little schnookered, and that one certainly did the trick.
Yeah, I guess so. Good Lord.
Yeah, and I'm going something a little easier tonight, but it's a Saturday night and it's been a rough week. So, cheers, gentlemen.
I hear you, brother. Cheers to you.
I'm sticking with coffee, but when that runs out, God knows anything's on the menu, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anthony, I wanted to jump in the middle with your books here, and I'm really intrigued by your John Decker series. They remind me of the old Dirk Pitt novels.
Yes.
Just those like almost like the old style men's adventure paperbacks. Just really kind of jump in and grab your attention, and it doesn't really let up, and I really like that. So, could you tell us a little bit about your series and what inspired it?
Sure. The inspiration was actually a bet that I made with my wife. We were working on a different book, and this was back in probably 2015, early 2015. We were going back and forth trying to work out the storyline, and I said to her, all these old style, schlock horror books, I could write one of those things in like 2 weeks. And she said, all right, well, go do it. So I went and did it. I came up with a werewolf in Louisiana. I looked up the legend of the Rougarou or the Loup-garou. We were living in Louisiana at the time. We'd moved back in 2012 to New Orleans, and then we moved out to the North Shore, and we bought a house there for a couple of years. And so the legend is all about this werewolf that basically Cajun werewolf that runs around the piney forest there. And so I thought, well, yeah, that's local. It's a good thing to do. So I just came up with this kind of silly story about a witch who turns herself into a werewolf, and and go seeking revenge on the town. And it really wasn't meant to be a series. I basically looked at, you know, what the kind of stuff you see on the Sci-Fi Channel, you know, those ridiculous movies like Sharknado and stuff like that. And I thought, you know, we'll just put a small town cop in and we'll have him dealing with the mayor that doesn't believe anything's going wrong, and, you know, the usual stuff.
Kind of like Jaws.
And yeah, really.
The mayor's like, no, leave the beach open.
Yeah, you know, yeah. So I did that, and we put it out, and people loved the character. And I couldn't figure out how to, she said, oh, we should do a series from it. And I said, well, I can't. It's like a small, how much can happen in one little town in Louisiana? So we ended up coming up with this idea that, you know, at the end of the book, he gets invited for the second book to Alaska. And so we decided to just get rid of him being a cop and have him just travel around and fight these monsters. And then he ends up being recruited by this shadowy organization, and that's kind of where it came from. It was all done as really originally as a bet that I couldn't write a stupid horror book in like a Pulp Fiction horror book in 2 weeks, and so that's what we did.
Well, that's really awesome. I haven't made it this far into the series. What does CUSP stand for?
It is Classified Universal Special Projects. And we spent probably about a week trying to come up with an acronym that made sense, and something that no one else was using, and something that someone in real life wasn't using for obviously different reasons. And eventually we just came up with that, and that the word sounded good. And I don't think the actual name of the organization really makes a lot of sense, but you know, it
makes perfect sense.
Works.
You've got to be careful about avoiding those real organizations. You want to you're going to get us yeah, Mr. Strong, we want to have a talk with you.
Indeed, I spend half my life on the internet typing things in. I mean, not just for this series, but also for the straight crime series. I do the FBI series and stuff like that, typing things in, like even stuff like when people go to a hotel in a town, I type in, and there's always that you know, you want to make sure you don't stick it in a real hotel and then kill a bunch of people in it, because, you know, that's a lawsuit. So I spend a lot of time on the internet making sure that everything I put in there that might annoy anyone isn't actually the name of anything real. Right. So yeah, it's kind of interesting when you do that, and it's amazing how many businesses there are out there, and how hard it is to find one that no one's taken the name of yet.
Yeah. Defensive research.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I think my wife thinks I take it a bit too far, because, you know, she'll say it doesn't matter, it's fiction. You've got a disclaimer at the front, but
right,
you know.
Exactly. Well, you can do a lot of creative ideas with fiction that you probably couldn't get away with if you were writing an expose.
Oh, absolutely.
You get sued into oblivion for writing an expose.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, or it could be even a little funnier, Anthony, how sometimes fiction imitates life, and you may end up getting a call from some of these organizations,
ag agencies.
Yeah, these ag agencies, and go, where'd you get your information from? So, I mean, you know, I believe it happened to DA as well. Did it not?
Well, I haven't had anybody knocking on the door, but I got a phone call from a buddy one time. He's like, I don't know where you're getting your information, but you're making some people nervous. I'm like, I just made it up, dude.
That happened back in the Second World War. You probably know about this Operation Overlord, which was to do with all the D-Day invasion and things. And there was a guy that did a crossword for one of the London newspapers. And the answers were all of the code words for the operation, which hadn't yet happened. And they actually sent, I don't know what they called them, like the precursor to, I guess, the Secret Service around over in England to find out, because they actually thought he was a German spy that was sending messages to Germany. So that actually, and to this day, there's no proof he was ever a spy. He was like a college professor or something like that was writing these crosswords for the Times newspaper, I think it was. And he just picked all of these answers that were all that they had Omaha Beach and all of these other beaches they were landing on, and all of the crossword answers were the answers to it were all related to this operation. And you know, he claimed it was just coincidence, but they were convinced he was a German spy.
One of my friends in high school, great guy. I'm not going to mention his name because he might be upset for me telling this story and mentioning his name. But we were doing history and section in world history on World War II, and they were asking, you know, which of the kids in the room had a family that fought in World War II. I of course raised my hand. My dad and both of his brothers fought in World War II, and so she asked about that, and I kept elbowing him. I'm like, tell them about yours. He's like, shut up, man. I don't want to talk about it. I said, well, I know you mentioned that they'd fought in World War II. Tell them about it. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. So she heard me talking to him. She's like, hey, and she called him by name. She's like, tell us about your family. And he's like, he was a U-boat captain.
Awkward.
he was a full captain in the Kriegsmarine.
Holy
crap. Yeah, it turned awkward in a hurry.
Yeah. Everybody's like, oh.
Crickets. It's like crickets. The record scratches and there's crickets. Yeah.
You know, in DA's writing universe, you know, a lot of times he'll get buy-in from, you know, real people, and there'll be fictionalized versions of them in the books. You know, like Pocket Doc here, you know, plays a fairly significant role in a couple of the books, and so we notice that sometimes our fans will have difficulty separating the myth from the real person, and then you know they'll be disappointed when they find out that certain details aren't out there, you know.
Right.
You know, like looking for fictional restaurants that aren't there anymore, and you know, or were never there. And
in fact, I just had somebody yesterday send me a message wanting to know where they could go to eat at Steve's Pub and Grub. I'm like, it doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
And I'm not 6 feet tall. Okay.
Yeah. And you don't have any supernatural abilities that you're aware of.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not at this time.
Not this time.
The night's early. The night is young.
That's right. Depends how much Basil Hayden I drink. Who knows?
Yeah, there you go.
Could be howling at the moon. I don't know.
I was going to say the only thing real about Steve's Pub and Grub is Steve actually does bartend and Rachel does cook. But that's
why I mentioned the shepherd's pie, because it's so good.
Personal interest rather than commercial.
Oh man. Yeah, I was looking at the cover of your latest book there, Anthony, and I was like, like DA said, it harkened me back to my youth of like the Mac Bolan books and things like that, you know. And I was like, I've got to get some of his books, man, and start reading them because they look really, really cool. And your background, you know, wanted to be an Egyptologist, and then you became a paleontologist, you know, so it kind of makes you the resident Saurus expert here.
Well, I'm not really an expert. I kind of abandoned both of those ideas way back when I was probably about 14 and realized that there was no money in any of them.
True.
These things do happen.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to Indiana Jones, you know.
Yeah. So I went to school for fine art instead, which has tons of money in it. So, you know.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of which, you do your own covers.
I do.
Well, which I find thoroughly amazing because your covers are magnificent.
Absolutely.
Well, thank
beautiful.
you.
In fact, I need to copy and paste the website address and put it in the chat. I meant to do that earlier. We'll do that right now. Folks, if you're interested in checking out more of Anthony's books, I just posted the link in the chat, and that'll take you directly to his Amazon author page with everything he's got on Amazon. And you can, if you click on the books, you can get them as a bundle, which is what I did. And it's well worth doing. Yeah, so you put a lot of cryptids in your books. Have you ever had a cryptid sighting?
I'm not sure. There was years and years ago when I was in my early 20s. I had a friend who, and this was back in England. It was just outside of the city of Bath, place called Lansdowne, and my friend lived in this old converted manor house that had been converted into flats, which, you know, over here would be apartments. And there was this really long driveway that went up to the main road. Well, it wasn't really main road, but up to the road at the top of the that went down into the city. And there was a pub at the end of this road. And we decided that we were one night that we were going to walk up there, and it was all wooded on both sides on this road, and it was dark and it was creepy, and there was no street lamps. And we decided that we were going to walk up the driveway, the driveway was about a mile long because it was an old country house. So, you know, it was a big acreage there. And we walked up and we went to the pub. And by the time we left, it was probably around, God, I don't know, about maybe 11:30 midnight. And then we had to walk back, and it was about a 2-mile walk back. And so we walk along the main road and we start down the driveway, and we can hear something in the woods next to us following us. And it sounded big. And, you know, this is England. I mean, we don't have bears, we don't have wolves. The biggest thing we've got squirrels and rabbits and a couple of foxes. So
and the occasional big cat sighting.
And the occasional big cat sighting. So, of course, that's what we thought. We're like, oh, my God, we're being followed. Something's stalking us. So now we'd had a few beers as well. So, you know, that might explain some of this. But we decided to, we got spooked. And so we start running, and we probably ran for about not more than about a quarter of a mile before we decided that was too much work. We stop, and then we hear this thing in the woods next to us again, this breaking branches, and it's cracking along. And so we come to a stop, and it stops, and we're like, oh, okay. So we stand there for a bit, and we can't hear anything, and we're like, okay, it's probably a fox or something, or whatever, it's gone. So we start walking again, and we hear it next to us, and it follows us all the way down the driveway. And we eventually come out of the woods, and we get to the house, and we run in, and we slam the door and go upstairs. The next day we went out into the woods to take a look around to see if we could see anything. And this whole area it's got a ton of history. There's Roman burial mounds there, because the whole area was part of an old Roman settlement back, you know, sort of 1900 years ago. There was a big Civil War battle there in the English Civil War, so there's lots of graves from Civil War soldiers up there. So it's a spooky place anyway. So we go up there, and we're wandering around, and we come across this tree, and there's a fox in the tree, hanging in the tree, missing its head. And it's about 6 feet up, hanging with its head gone. So we looked at each other and we left, and I don't think we ever spoke about it again, but it was pretty creepy. And whatever was following us, we assume had snapped out on a fox after it decided that we were too big to eat.
Didn't anyone at the pub tell you to stick to the road and stay off the moors?
I was thinking that.
That's actually one of my favorite movies, but yeah,
it's a great movie.
It's a wonderful movie. Not so much the sequel, but the original was great.
Yeah, original was fantastic.
The sequel wasn't that great.
No, it was, and I paid money to see that at the movie theater, and I can never get that money back. But yeah, no, it was like that. I mean, it was trees instead of moors, but you know, put some mist going through it, and it was the same kind of thing.
Oh, that's just scary to think about. Yeah,
well, there are a lot of dogman sightings in England.
Yes.
Well, and the wood is so thick in some of those places. I remember when my wife and I took our vacation, I was talking to you about you before the show. You know, we stayed in Cornwall, so we drove. Our flight came in probably around dinner time, and then we drove to Cornwall from London. And so I remember driving through Devon, and you know, it was 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you know, driving these narrow, you know, stone-walled roads. Yeah. And the trees are so thick you can't see 6 feet from the road. And I remember my wife and I talking about how scary it it was. You know, how just eerie everything was. And then, of course, we come out into clearing, we see Stonehenge, and it's lit up, and I'm like, okay, that's even more unnerving. And it was
minus the Stonehenge. It sounds like parts of the Mark Twain.
Well, think about Mark Twain with stone walls on the edge of the road where there's no shoulders. And so, it was. In the daylight, it was beautiful. At night, it was beautiful but creepy.
Yeah.
There's some thick woods out there. I mean, when my wife and I we were up in the Highlands, and we drove over to Fort George in Scotland, and there was this one forest on the way back that we said, hey, let's pull off and go hiking here. And it was a beautiful, clear day in Scotland, believe it or not. It was such a thick canopy, and it was so thick with trees. It was dark. It was like, twilight in there in the woods. And it was
like an LBL.
Yeah, it's dead quiet. And she's like, I'm starting to get a little creeped out, and this coming from the slasher queen. And so, so I was like, let's go ahead and get back to the car and get back to the pub and have a pint. So,
Anthony, you had a question from the chat. Mrs. Chef Yoda says, "Are your books standalone, or do you need to read them in order?"
They are all they're obviously a series, but they're all standalone. They're Monster of the Week. So there is a slight overarching story, but nothing that would stop you reading them as standalones. If you like Jack the Ripper, you can jump into that one. If you like, whatever you like, you can pick it up. So yes, it's definitely standalone.
So, but is there a continuity? Do you refer back to other books, or are they just episodic? There's continuity, especially with the later books. But even with those, they're still an episodic story. Every story is self-contained. It's just that there obviously, as things happen throughout the series, I may reference something. But yeah, they're all standalone, and it's better if you start at the beginning and read through just for some of the references, but you absolutely don't need to. The later ones, especially the last one, kind of ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, which my fans don't like very much. I tried not to make it a cliffhanger. It was going to be a much worse cliffhanger, and then my wife read it and said, you can't do that. So I changed it and made it a much more soft cliffhanger, and I still got a couple of comments from the beta team. So that one going forward, you may want to read that one before you read the ones I haven't written yet, just simply because of what I'm going to do to John Decker in the next couple. But certainly everything up to number 9 is a standalone. Well, that's good to know. I mean, but I want to read them in order. That's just kind of how I am. Is there a real world inspiration for Decker?
No, I just kind of made him up. I guess the real world inspiration would probably be any movie that's ever been on the Sci-Fi Channel that's had a cop chasing monsters in it, which is most of them.
Like Kolchak the Night Stalker, although he wasn't a cop.
Yeah, he was a reporter, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, kind of. I mean, not a real inspiration, but definitely definitely I've watched a lot of that kind of stuff, and it just got all mashed up in there, and then has become regurgitated as John Decker.
It's amazing how you
it's an amalgamation.
Yeah. It's amazing how you pointed to your wife, kind of steering you off of the stronger cliffhanger. One thing I've learned from the year or so we've done this podcast is that almost every author that we've interviewed, some of the major directions that something took, there was some input from the spouse. Our friend Jonathan Maybury told me once that, that such and such a character was safe because his wife already said she would divorce him if he killed them. And I know, of course, DA is a very close friend, and I know his wife very well. And, I know his wife has alpha or beta read some of his stuff and said, okay, that's just stupid. That can't work.
She's my worst critic.
And obviously your wife, getting involved there too. It's kind of funny how that comes over into the story, the fiction.
And Anthony, I've got a question for you. What
Mhm.
was what compelled you to write about cryptids? What was your driving motivation there?
I don't know. Probably because I don't really like making monsters up when I'm writing. So I kind of feel like even if, even if the book itself is ridiculous and makes absolutely no sense in the real world, at least the monster should be something that people might have heard of or is out there somewhere in the public consciousness. So I try not to just make monsters up. And cryptids, honestly, are low-hanging fruit. I mean, there's just so many of them, and some of them are so ridiculous that it's kind of, it's wherever you go in the United States or the world, you can find some local monster that everyone talks about or is in folklore. So it's very easy to send Decker anywhere and have him battle some weird and wonderful monster. So they're basically just, like I said, low-hanging fruit, and they're interesting, and there's a lot out there about them, and I kind of like to take them and change them a bit, so that they're not just same old thing that everyone expects.
Yeah, grab the legend. That's the beautiful thing about writing your own book. You can grab the legend, and kind of make it your own. Add your own nuances to it. That's pretty cool. I like
kind of
that.
like in the case of the Wendigo, there's so much different lore from different tribes. You can just pick and choose. I mean,
tailor them in. Well, and they're, by definition, the cryptids are, not quite real. We don't know quite enough to say that they're real, but we don't know enough to say they're not. And so, you have a little bit of artistic license with them. If DA wants to make his Bigfoot intelligent and they speak Cherokee, great, he can do that. You're not going to find a single person out there that has seen a Bigfoot that goes, oh, they don't talk like that.
Exactly. I've never heard they speak Lakota, not Cherokee.
Not this tribe. This tribe was from the south.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, seriously though, you've got enough. There's enough plausible deniability, if you will, that you can take your own swing at it, and you don't have to worry about one, getting sued, but two, you don't have to worry about anybody critiquing it, or at least nobody sane critiquing it.
No, people still critique
the story. They do, but enjoy the story, suspend disbelief, and have fun with the story. That's why we take this journey.
Indeed.
Yeah. Nice.
Juana Vargas said, Mr. Strong, you're the king of the evil cliffhanger.
I guess he read my latest book.
I ended one of my Ragnarok Rising books on a cliffhanger, and I tell you, I got nothing but grief over that.
Yeah, you did.
There were some people who were very upset it was going to take a while for the next one to come out.
Yeah, people don't like I try to avoid the cliffhangers because I've seen too many other authors with awful reviews just because of the cliffhanger.
Unfortunately, I was able to get the next one in the series out fairly quick, so it wasn't this bad.
Right. Well, no one minds about the cliffhanger if they can just go read the next book.
True.
Now, Anthony, you said that thanks to your wife's input, your cliffhanger wasn't quite as severe as originally you planned it. I'm probably the minority in that. I'm the non-writer of the group. Why the cliffhanger at all? Why didn't, when she gave you the pushback, why didn't you resolve it?
Well, it was kind of hard to resolve because of the end of that book and where it goes at the end, because in Last Resort, which is the latest book, they end up traveling through time, and it's to do with basically multiple dimensions and wormholes and stuff like that. And so when it's time to get them back, I decided that rather than I don't want to give away the end of it, but basically I wanted to send John Decker in a different direction, and there was only one way to do it, and I couldn't do it without a small cliffhanger. So the next book will not be quite the same as the previous books. It will be the same, but it's going to have a different angle to it. So I wanted to mix it up a bit, because I don't just want to have Decker running around doing the same thing every single book.
Sure.
So yeah, it was kind of hard to do it without a small cliffhanger. And
I got you.
It was going to be a much bigger cliffhanger, because I wasn't going to put anything at the end to explain the cliffhanger originally, and that I think would have caused a bit of an uproar. So I softened it an awful lot, and there's still a few people that wish the next book was coming out tomorrow instead of 5.5 months.
Gotcha. So you had a choice between a cliffhanger or a MacGuffin, and so you took the moral high ground and went with the cliffhanger. I got you.
Nothing wrong with a well-timed MacGuffin. You just never know.
No, well, if it weren't for the Deus Ex Machina, we wouldn't have this podcast. You know,
No kidding.
No, I don't have the privilege of having read your stuff. Although, as we were, queuing up in the green room, so to speak, I bought the series, so we're going to get to it. It's fascinating stuff. I think just the little synopses and whatnot that I read about your Decker character, I think it's going to be very enjoyable. Me personally, as a reader, I'm a sucker for the unwilling hero. I am fascinated by the person who does a job because no one else will. Not because he has any desire to do it.
And that's really Decker. Like I said, I started the series really as a bet that, I couldn't write that kind of a book. And then when I turned it into a series, I had to move him out of that role, and he became the unwilling hero. So it really, and he isn't really an action hero in the true sense, because he really doesn't go around shooting everything up or doing stuff like that. He's kind of he likes to solve it more with his mind and work through it. He's also got a girlfriend who he ends up engaged to be married to, so he's not really a womanizer or the kind of character that you would see in a lot of this kind of fiction. So I think people relate to him because he's more ordinary than a lot of the more action-oriented heroes that are out there in a lot of these kind of books. He kind of gets dragged into it and doesn't really want to do it, and everything's a little bit of a chore to him to go and deal with these things. So he's always being kind of dragged into new situations that he's not really sure he wants to be in.
I just released a book last week, and the funny part is, within 6 hours of it being released, I already had the first message, when's the next one coming out?
That's awesome.
Someone read it really quick and immediately sent me a message, loved the new book, when's the next one coming out? And I'm like, give me a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I have to treat them like medication, man. I can only take them and I can only read them in small doses, or I'll just devour the whole thing at one sitting. So,
wow,
I'm the same
I
way.
think that's true with a lot of these books. I know there's been several authors that I have followed over the years, and a lot of them, for the most part, they'll have like a 1-year cycle on their stories. It's like, in April of every year, the next blah 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 book will come out. Well, and then something will change, and then they won't stick to the schedule. And April will come along, and you're like, damn it! Where's this book? Like, oh, it's going to be released in September. I'm like, no, that's not the rule.
You're killing me, Smalls. I got to read your book. Need my fix.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you ever get sternly worded letters when you kill off a favorite character?
I haven't killed off too many favorite characters because I don't want the sternly worded letters. I've had a few sternly worded emails about other things that I've done with characters once in a while. But I haven't actually, I can't think of any major characters I've actually killed off. I came close with the last one. I was tempted to kill a character off, and then I pulled back from it.
I've been called Dr. Death because I tend to kill off a lot of characters. But there's one in particular character from my Ragnarok series that when I was making a convention appearance in Kansas City, Missouri, a guy drove from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Kansas City just to argue with me about killing that character. And he was livid when he came to the table too.
Dude, I think I've told you this in private conversation before. You're like the George R.R. Martin of Cryptid. You know, don't get attached to somebody because you're going to kill them off.
This is why he now has a P.O. box instead of his home address for fan mail.
Exactly.
His wife's like, I'm going to deal with these people.
Box.
Yeah, it was funny. In the way you're talking about the favorite characters, I noticed that in DA's latest little offering, he decided to give us a little bit of fan service with a revisit of some fan favorites, and I was pretty
needed
excited.
a way to bring them back into the current books, because the Ragnarok books are set years in the future, and at one point I was like, well, what are these guys doing now? I mean,
Right.
knowing the characters, they weren't just sitting back and having a beer waiting for other things to kick off. They were doing something.
Right.
No. Well, I was pretty excited. I won't ruin it for anybody who hasn't read the series by mentioning the character, but as soon as I heard his name, I'm like, oh my God, he's back! You know, it was, Anthony, for your benefit. So DA and I have been friends for years now. And we used to work at the same hospital. I'm a registered nurse, and he was a supervisor on our security detachment.
Okay.
And we became friends. We were, nerding out about various things. And he at one point he goes, "Oh, I'm a writer, right?" And for those who use Amazon Kindle, you'll get these constant messages. Well, because you read such and such, you'll like this.
Yeah.
It's like, because you read Joe McKinney, you may like Anthony Strong or whatever. Well, one of the people that had suggested that I would like would be D.A. Roberts. Well, I know D.A. by his full first name, Doug. And so, to me, he's Doug. And so he's like, yeah, I write the series. And at the time, all of his out was his Ragnarok series. And he's like, yeah, I wrote this the zombie fiction, meets the Norse apocalypse series. And I'm like, oh, really? I said, that sounds familiar to me. He goes, well, yeah, I write under the name D.A. Roberts. And like, literally, I was like, oh my God, you're D.A. Roberts. Like, I had this absolute nerdgasm over this whole thing. And he thought it was hysterical. He's like, I'm an indie writer. I got like 10 books to my name. And, the dude had this stroke over the book. And, it's kind of where our journey kind of went together as far as, doing this. And then, of course, he took off and started, writing anything and everything. And, 25 books later, I'm still excited to know D.A. Roberts,
Well, I appreciate it, brother. So what's next? What's next for the series? What's the next monster?
The next monster is going to be more supernatural. So it's going to be more, without giving too much away, it will be more ghostly than monster, just simply because of the direction that I've taken Decker. And in the latest book, he was just about to get married, and I found a way to stop him getting married for at least 3 more books. So, and again, my wife was mad about that because, she's been urging me to marry him off because she said, oh, no, the fans will like it if he gets married. So I was like, I'm not so sure about that, but okay, whatever. And then at the last minute, I was like, I've got a good idea. I know what I can do with this. So she was like, oh, seriously, you're going to take him in another direction for 3 whole books where he's not going to be able to finish his marriage ceremony. So he's going to end up in a situation where he's dealing with a more supernatural leaning entity, something that can possess people. So that's where I'm going with that one.
You interrupted his wedding ceremony?
I did, with
You're
a bride
evil
from
man.
100 years before who shows up and gate crashes it.
Yeah, that's pretty evil, man. Not gonna lie.
That's awesome.
That's pretty
If
rude
you're gonna
there.
crash it, that's the way to do it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, I am super excited. I will say that the longer we have done this show, the bigger my to be read pile is. If I wasn't reading everything on Kindle, the pile would have fallen over and killed me. But I've got 10 more to add to it.
Well, it's a truism among writers that writers are also readers themselves.
Yes.
And, yeah, if you're not constantly reading and studying how other people do it, you're really doing yourself a disservice. You're not polishing your own craft.
Exactly.
So I've read everything that I could get my hands on, short of romance novels. And if left to my own devices and get bored, I'd probably read one of those too. But really across genres, I'm one night I might be reading John Steinbeck, and the next night I'm reading George R.R. Martin. I mean, it's such a wide, eclectic slice of literature that I read, and everything that I've ever read has gone into making me a better writer.
Well, so here's a question for you two writers, DA and Anthony. Is that what keeps you fresh? Is that what kind of keeps your edge honed? Reading these other writers' books, they're and going, hey, that's a great idea. I like the way he's doing this.
I think so. For me, certainly. And again, just like DA, I try to read a variety of books. Not just horror novels, but other genres as well. I'm not sure I'd go as far as romance. That's a line too far, but but you never know. Maybe
Don't judge
one day
me.
there won't be any other books in the house, and I'll have to do that. But that really is a last resort for me. But I think
it wasn't my fault. He was in the bathroom. I just just picked it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it definitely. If you don't read, you can't write. You have to. Plus, you read other people, and then you're like, damn, they're really good. I want to write like that. So then it lifts your game, and you try to improve.
Nice.
I always found that anytime, and every writer at some stage in their career has gone through this, when you're looking at the screen or a piece of paper or whatever you're writing, and you went, "This is crap. I suck." And you're just like, what am I doing? And at that point, if I reach that point where I feel like I can't write my way out of a wet paper bag, I pick up a copy of Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And by 2 pages into that, I reminded myself, if this piece of crap could get published, then I'm not so bad. They made me read Crime and Punishment in school, and when it was the final, they asked me. They said, "Okay, in your own words, describe the plot of Crime and Punishment." I said, "The crime was Fyodor Dostoevsky wrote this book. The punishment was you made me read it."
I have read that book, or at least I've read most of that book, and I agree.
Yeah. That book is terrible.
There is
heavy.
Some
brutal things. When I was in taking French in college, they made us read Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, which a wonderful, bit of literature, but it's 1,200 pages long.
Yeah.
And of course, they made us read it in French, which is not my native language. And so it was a little challenging. And of course, I thought I knew the storyline. I knew the whole Jean Valjean thing and everything else. And I find out that that's like 3 chapters of the entire damn book. And it was a little brutal, to say the least.
Wow.
Mark Napier says, "What, DA? You didn't read about glittering vampires?" Okay, I will straight up read Harlequin romance novels before I'll read those.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
Oh, DA, what is the name of that service that that Amazon does, where they release a book like a chapter at a time?
Vella. Kindle Vella.
Vella. Thank you.
Josh.
There's a service very similar to that with another vendor that is not Amazon. And my wife reads those, and she's in the process of reading this paranormal fiction. It's like paranormal romance, and we affectionately refer to it as her werewolf porn. But it has caught her attention wholeheartedly. And when he's talking about how he's not going to read it, this, I'm like, my wife reads werewolf porn.
Oh shit, that's funny, man. That's hilarious.
That's kind of bad. Anthony, what are some of your favorite authors?
I think I've got to say Stephen King because everyone does. So we'll do that one.
It's a safe one.
It's a safe one. I read some Preston and Child. The Decker character has been kind of likened to Preston and Child books over all sorts of things. Recently, I've been reading a lot more crime and that kind of thing because I've been doing the research for the straight crime novels that I'm started under a pen name. So I've been reading those on authors like who was an English author. He's dead now, but he wrote a lot of ghost stuff, and he wrote a book called The Rats, which was basically about man-eating rats terrorizing London and eating people. And he wrote a whole trilogy for that. And the last one, this was back in the 80s, he wrote them, but the last one he wrote was the last of the Rats trilogy was set during a nuclear war. So it was also an apocalyptic book at the same time with man-eating rats. So that was kind of cool. And I used to read a lot of another author called Guy N. Smith, who was I guess you call him an influence. And he was really he wrote a lot of books. They were fairly short, but he would write 2, 3, 4 of them a year. And he wrote a lot of kind of what you call pulp horror books. So a lot of werewolf fiction, and it was all set in the English countryside with people being chased and eaten and all that good stuff. But recently I've been reading, like I said, a lot of the crime stuff. I've been reading some of or I've went back to reading some of the early Preston and Child stuff. Other than that, I've picked up a lot of authors. I can't name them all, but I'll just pick someone up on Kindle, read them, and go. And I don't remember a lot of the names, but I buy a lot of books, and I've got probably a reading list that's about 50 books long right now to get through.
Wow. Mine's probably at least that long, if not longer.
Same.
So
Josh Jones gave us a super chat. Thanks, Josh.
Oh, thanks, Josh.
Call.
And you mentioned Stephen King, and of course, virtually anybody who is into the horror genre or has written in the horror genre, they come back to Stephen King at some point. Stephen King has kind of been likened to the Bach of horror fiction. We all have our favorite Stephen King story. What is your favorite?
Years ago, it was started out with, I think when I was a lot younger, I liked It. The clown. I'm not sure I could sit through a book that long now and read it.
Understandable.
I have I have a paper copy of it, and I look at it now and I'm like, God, I read all that. Not in one sitting, obviously, but I like The Outsider. Is probably my current favorite.
That's a good one.
And I also liked the Mr. Mercedes and the trilogy he did there. And obviously one of the characters from that crosses over into The Outsider as well. So I guess The Outsider is technically a sequel, but not really. So I'd say The Outsider is probably my current favorite.
My favorite Stephen King is Salem's Lot.
Yes. Same here.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Josh Jones brought up a good point. He said that Stephen King isn't the same after the accident. After he was hit by that car, his writing changed quite a bit.
Yes.
Derek Buckles had a question for you, Anthony. He wants to know who Preston and Child is.
They do a series. It's called. It's a series about a FBI special agent called Pendergast, and he the movie Relic, I think it came out in the late 90s, was based on their first book, which was also called Relic, and it was about a researcher or a professor. I think it was the museum in New York, Natural History Museum, who goes on a trip to the Amazon and comes back, and or he sends stuff back, and basically there's a monster in what he sends back, and it starts eating people in the museum, and running amok in the museum. So they kind of write the creature fiction. Over the last few years, they've veered a bit more into more straight crime stuff, but at least straighter crime stuff than they used to do. But it's Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, and they're a writing team. They've been around for probably 20 years, 25 years. They've got a couple of other series out as well, but their best known one is the Pendergast series, which is basically a monster hunting FBI agent.
Cool. I like that. I like that. I have to look for those up. That sounds like something else to add to the reading pile. I'm always looking for new stuff.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that I'd asked you who the real world inspiration for Decker was, but do you draw real world inspiration for some of your characters, or from literature?
Yes. Especially the characters that end up on the wrong side of the monsters. I knew someone a long time ago that he was an old boss, and I kind of put him in one of the books and had him eaten by one of my monsters.
I've done that too.
And I'm fairly safe because I don't think he watches podcasts, because I just don't think he does. So, and even if he did, he won't recognize himself, hopefully. But yeah, he ended up in a book. I've put various amalgamations of people that I know in books, but mostly I work out my anger on people that I've not liked over the years, and they end up as victims.
I wrote one character in my Ragnarok series, and it was designed to be a character nobody liked. And when I was still working for the sheriff's department is when I wrote those books. And there were all kinds of people in the department trying to guess which character they were and stuff like that. And I kept telling them, not everybody's in the book, and it's not really based on any one person, but they were still trying to guess who was who. And a friend of mine, Matt Roper, who sometimes joins us, someone asked him, "Am I this guy?" And he pointed out the character that everybody hated. And he goes, "Yes, you are." And that guy hated me for years after that. And it wasn't him. Roper was just pulling his chain, but he was pissed at me for like 3 years until he finally asked me about it. I'm like, "No, that was not you. That was another guy that got fired a couple of years ago."
That's hilarious, man.
He's like, "I've been pissed at you all this time." I'm like, "It wasn't you, man."
Yeah, DA is pretty liberal with his body count, and being a character in a DA Roberts novel is both flattering and terrifying. Because I remember when when a fictional version of me first appeared in the books, I'm like, "Hey, that's awesome. Oh shit, he's going to kill me."
But it will be in a brutal and spectacular fashion.
It'll be memorable, damn it.
Oh my god.
You know.
In fact, the book that I mentioned by Jack Higgins, A Prayer for the Dying, there's the main character of that book is named Martin Fallon. I based one of my characters, the character of Logue, in the new series off that Martin Fallon character. Drew a very similar kind of guy. And there are a lot of people that love Logue and a lot of people that hate him, but that was the way the Martin Fallon character was. He was an honorable character, but at the same time, he was not a nice guy. He was very brutal, and so is Logue. And I kind of drew on that. And there's some people that have sent me some interesting comments about how much they dislike Logue.
Well, in the world of cryptid fiction and paranormal fiction, you know, sometimes you embrace these anti-hero characters. You know, you have to be how did Logue phrase it? He is a thing that hunts those things that go bump in the night.
Yeah.
You know, it's I'm one of the ones who really like the Logue character, and even after you've bastardized him in your latest work,
I never
still love
said
it.
he wasn't a bastard. I never said that at all.
You know, but I think that's the beauty of it. I mean, none of us are your typical, lawful good paladin type character.
Right.
We have our faults. We make our mistakes. And it is what it is. Carrie can relate to this because of his background as a nurse. Some nurses are, I mean, let's just be honest, they're not nice people.
No.
They're good people, but they're not nice. But they're the ones that you want to see in the ER when bad decisions have been made or bad luck has occurred. But they're not necessarily the people you like. It's like, there's several friends of mine who are long time, ER nurses, and I'm like, I consider them friends. I also consider them assholes. And
technically proficient, but bedside manner is exit stage left.
Exactly. But if I'm going to come in on a helicopter with a tourniquet on something that I'd like to keep, that's the guy I want there.
Yeah.
Not the one who's nice to me.
I think I know the one you're talking about, Steve. Sal Passos made a comment. He says, all right, DA, it was the deputy at the roadblock, right? Absolutely correct. It was that character. And I had a guy that was pissed at me for 3 years because he thought he was that character. Thanks a lot, Roper.
Thanks a lot, Roper. You ruined everything.
That's hilarious, man.
We love you, Matt.
See, and here's the thing, DA, for Logue. It's like, I saw Werewolf was like, hate him. It's like a love or hate thing. But if he ever goes, if this ever goes to the big screen, you got to have David O'Hara do Logue. I think he would be great. Him or Colin Farrell.
I was thinking Colin Farrell, but
because David O'Hara, it's my island.
Yeah, it's my island.
I spoke to oh yes, Father. He says I'm going to be all right, but it's for you. You're fucked. I mean, and so it's one of he would be a great Logue. Just to, I don't know, because he's and Colin Farrell would too, because he's just kind of a cocky bastard. So
yeah. Well, it's funny when you mentioned Logue. Of course, I couldn't help but think of Donald Logue, the Irish actor. Yeah. And I remember I loved him in Gotham because he was such a despicable piece of crap, but he was a hero. He was you wanted him, you wanted to root for him, but God, he was a jerk.
Yeah. Some of these guys, it's like Logue in DA's books. Logue's, he's done some good things, but God, he's a dick, man. He really is. He's just a dick.
A few of those.
How about you, Anthony? You have any other characters in your books? I've not read them yet, so I don't know. I know Decker's the main character. Do you have any supporting cast that are kind of like Logue?
Yeah, I do. I have. There's a guy called Cullum, and he is he's part of the organization, and he's he's ex Special Forces. He was an Irish Special Forces Ranger, so he's always good for if you need someone to shoot things up and kick some doors in. I've got another character that pops up. I've got a nerdy archaeologist guy, and he's the guy that explains everything to the audience when through Decker, Decker will be like, how can you do that? And then the nerdy archaeologist who knows everything about everything scientifically, even if it's not archaeology, somehow will always explain it so the audience are understanding it, the reader's understanding it. And then I've also got a character called Mina, who's she's like a 22-year-old girl, and she ends up running afoul. She's in 3 of the books, I think, now, and we're thinking of splitting her off into her own series. But she ends up running afoul of Jack the Ripper in Whitechapel Rising. Ooh. And ends up on the bad end of that. She doesn't die, but she almost does. But she ends up changed somehow. Right. I won't say how, but but that's
Well, with the name Mina, I think I can guess.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody that's read Bram Stoker's.
you've got me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got me convinced. I'm gonna have to be like Steve and buy the whole series and download it to my Kindle. So my library of to be read is going to be expanded.
Yeah.
My wife has already informed me that this podcast is getting expensive because Dia and I kind of partnered to do this thing, and it was kind of something we came up with a long time ago, and of course the cryptids and that type of thing is his thing, and that's of course his literary vehicle. I am in it for the author of the week stuff that we do, because I'm a huge book nerd. I had no social life when I was a younger guy. Don't have much of one now. And so the books are my friends. And so, we'll get an author. I'm like, oh, I got to buy all their stuff. I want to read it all.
Yeah.
And it's gotten kind of ridiculous.
It's funny Steve should mention the origin of the podcast, because originally it was going to be called Two Idiots No Waiting, but we decided to go a different route.
Yeah. It was one of many things that grew out of an evening with a nice scotch and creativity. It was rather funny. The actual Steve's Pub and Grub from the books is my dining room table,
where a lot of the characters were created.
A lot of discussions took place there with me bartending and my wife cooking something ridiculous that was so good. That's just kind of where it went. And of course, DA, it lit the creative fires, and everything came out of that. And my only claim to fame is I can say I poured the drinks. But
and helped invent a new drink itself.
Yeah,
there you go. The South Boston. Yeah, I'm waiting for the South Boston to come up in a book yet.
It's got to make an appearance. Ivy Ray had a question. She said, "Da, have you thought about a sequel to your Ragnarok series with Wiley's sons? The villains were so awesome." Yeah, I'm working on a second series. It's going to be called Wastelands of Ragnarok. And it takes place about 20 years after the first series. So that's in the works too. Look for the first book of that probably the winter 2022, maybe, depending on what the rest of my schedule brings. And there's a question for you, Anthony. Toothaking says, Anthony, do you have a character that, no matter what your intentions are, will change or derail the storyline?
Yeah, I've got a couple of them. If you're talking the Decker books, Cullum regularly starts taking over things and will take the story in a slightly different direction. Again, the Mina character, I didn't even intend to put her in Whitechapel Rising originally, and then we had the idea. I was talking to my wife, and we were knocking around story ideas, and it was. At the time, all I had for the book was just, wouldn't it be cool if Jack the Ripper was a vampire, but not really a vampire, kind of something pseudo vampire. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of reinvent the vampire a little bit, simply because he'd, they're like you said, the sparkly vampires and all this other stuff's been done, and and I didn't want to end up in that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So we decided to put Mina in it, and she kind of steered the story in a different direction, because originally we'd come up with a fairly straight story without her in it, and then we thought, well, it wouldn't be cool if we stuck her in this story. So we did that, and then she kind of, to a degree, took over and changed the end of the story because of that, because we ended up doing stuff with her at the end, and it was almost like it wasn't so much that we came up with that as the book was written. She just was doing her own thing and just wouldn't let us go in the other direction that we were originally intending to. So she definitely took over as a character in that book.
I think that's one of the fascinating things about writing, and DA's mentioned this in past podcasts, is that the characters seem to take a life of their own. And it might have been a character that he didn't intend on being a bigger character, but as their storyline progressed, the character developed. They just kind of took a life of their own and went on their own path. So I think that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
There's a non-writer that fascinates me, because DA will talk about that. there's one fan favorite character that he writes called Margolin.
Margolin.
And
Embrace the suck, man.
Margolin is basically he is like the resident destructive element of everything.
He's an agent of chaos. He's
Seriously.
It's just too dumb to stop, man.
Oh my God, he'll be talking about it because I've kind of stepped away a little bit from the alpha reading thing because he has some other very, very fine people doing it, and my professional life is a little chaotic right now. But he'll I was doing that like, and then Margolin just like, dude, this is the character you invented that comes out of your head.
Yeah,
like it's almost like like Sybil's losing an argument with herself.
Yeah.
Well, when I write dialogue for the guy, even I'm shocked at what comes out of his mouth sometimes. I'll be like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, and you're not the first writer to say that. Of course, Anthony just kind of said that. Some of the other writers we've spoken with on our podcast have come up with that. It was like, what is considered creative juices formerly could be considered mental illness. Because of
the characters definitely take over.
Yeah, they do.
I had a book where I started it with one main character, and then it ended up where that was not the main character anymore, and by the end of the book, it was a different main character.
They say writer's block is when the voices in your head stop talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Matt Mills wants to know how long you've been writing.
I've been writing novels. Well, my first writing I did. I got a job when I was about 17 or 18, writing for a local newspaper in my hometown, and I did that for a while. And I was writing like covering weddings and stuff like that, and little local events, and I'm not sure it was really. I got paid for it, so I guess it was writing. My first book I wrote when I was 18, and it was dreadful. It was I was into zombie fiction at the time, so I kind of still am, but I was into it really heavily at the time. So I wrote a book about zombies invading a small town in England, and I wrote it on there was a I guess it would be a word processor, but it was basically a computer in a suitcase. It was back in the late 80s, and it was this green screen computer that was supposed to be a portable computer. My father was an IT manager, so he got all sorts of tech gadgets and things, and so I wrote it on that, and it was not a good book, and it had a 5.5-inch floppy drive in it, and that was the only way to store it. So
wow.
There's no way to get the book back now. I think there was one copy of it I printed out, and it's probably in England. I have no idea where it is, and hopefully no one ever gets a hold of it and reads it, because it was dreadful. It really was bad. I even now I can remember how bad it was. So that was the first book, and that was the late 80s. And then in 2000, I got a job after I came over to America. I got a job with a company that was doing political advertising, and it was like a direct mail company, and they hired me as a graphic designer, but they only made money when at political season. So the rest of the time I had nothing to do. So they just said to me, well, just whatever, do whatever you want. We don't care. So I sat there and basically wrote a book on their dime. And that eventually became Crimson Deep, which is the third book in the John Decker series. But that one was also so bad that I rewrote the entire book from scratch.
There's a pattern here, Anthony.
There is.
When I first started writing short stories, I wrote them on an old Brother portable word processor, and whenever you wanted to read it, you had to actually print it out like physically on a typewriter, because it had it built in, and it saved to a 3.5-inch drive, and they were completely unreadable by any other computer.
Man.
So those stories are thankfully all lost now, and hopefully will never see the light of day. And if anybody discovers one of those discs and can actually read it, it's probably going to be blackmail material, because they were bad.
Oh man, it's funny to see how far you progress, with your craft.
Well, and it's funny, of course, I wasn't privy to Anthony's story because we've only just met within the last hour or so. But what was it, about 10 years ago that you wrote the first book of Ragnarok, DA?
Yeah, it was 10 years ago this year.
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago this year. Just see how your writing has advanced from that point. I mean, your Ragnarok stuff is good, but compared to your new stuff, I mean, your original stuff is kind of sophomoric and it is what it is, and it's still wonderful writing. It's better than I could ever do.
Generous in saying that.
Well, as a person who's never published a damn thing in his life, I got to heap some praise on you for being able to do it.
Amen. Amen.
I'm just glad you did, and it's fun to be the no talent sidekick that gets drug along with you here.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I've said the same thing to him, man. I was like, man, look, brother, I ain't getting up your slacks here, but here's the thing. Reading the Ragnarok series and watching the characters develop there, you can actually see writers progress with their talent, and his books have gotten progressively better, exponentially better, and to the point where I'm like, damn, man, you're pushing, you're definitely competing against some of these, quote unquote, big name writers out there just through your character development, your storylines, the way your storylines have diverged into so many other different storylines and other spinoffs. And it's been really cool to, like DA always says, it's a journey, and it's been really cool to take that journey with him, because I met him online, 2012, wasn't it? 2012,
right after the first book came out.
Yeah, and so I started talking. I was like, "So you guys got med kits, and that's how it started, man." But and I'm interested to read Anthony's books and to watch the character development, the progression of these guys, and to watch them. You watch them grow, and that's the really cool thing about reading from book one up to like you said, what you got, nine books in the series, Anthony.
9 out and the 10th on pre-sale.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well,
So
and Anthony made a very good.
Oh, sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
I was going to say Anthony made a very good point. When he was talking about his early stuff, much like DA, he was like, I hope you never read it. This is a mercy killing you, this kind of thing. And then he was like, I forgot how you phrased it, but I think you said, I got paid for it, so technically it was writing. And I remember reading something, we all circle back to Stephen King, for one reason or another, we circle back to him. But I remember him saying once that if somebody wrote you a check and you cashed the check and the check cleared, you have made success as a writer.
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing it badly, but I mean, I like, Kerry has a career. He's got his own business. He's got the military background, everything else, but he's never sold a book.
Nope.
He's a highly successful man, but he's never sold a book. I'm happy with my career. I've never sold a book. Or have you sold a book, Kerry?
No. I've written a few articles for some magazines and gotten paid for that. So that's kind of rad.
Yeah, you're better than I am. I mean, I've done some technical writing that was part of the job description, but beyond that, I haven't gotten paid a damn thing.
I just don't think I honestly, man, I love writing, but I don't think I have the patience, and I think that's another thing, to see the patience that writers have to see these books to fruition and to see them to completion. I mean, I'd get into like one or two chapters and my ADHD would kick in and I'd be off, chasing red balloons or squirrels or something. So
I don't have the temper for it. I would get pissed off and I'd kill them all off.
Yeah.
I would, something would happen and I would take them all out.
Chapter 2, they all died. I mean, but
they all died. Screw you, main character.
Yeah, but it's impressive to see these books. Because DA, how many books did you have in the Ragnarok series?
Originally 5, but it wound up being 10.
Yeah, and I've got all of them. I've read all of them, and just the patience that writers exhibit in this, it's true dedication to their craft, man. That's all I can say.
Dedication was the word. It was like what Anthony said, that initially his first book was almost a dare by the wife. I can write this in 3 weeks. That just fascinates me. I've been toying around book ideas for years. I'm 45 years old and I still haven't written a damn thing. And I probably never will. It's my hat goes off to you, seriously. And
big time.
And to not only be able to put the pen to paper and publish something, but then people read it. That's that's
and sometimes they review it.
There you go.
And folks, writers live and die by those reviews. Your Amazon sales are generated by those reviews.
Absolutely.
If you read an author and you like the book even a little bit, go on Amazon. Even if all you have to leave is a 4-star, 3-star review and the word simply says "good book." Those reviews help drive sales. Amazon doesn't start promoting your books until you hit at least 50 reviews, and then they really don't do anything special until you hit at least 100. So if you've read an author you enjoy, please make sure you go and take the time to leave them a review.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's your bread and butter right there, and it's really, it's just, I don't know, it's really cool to see the reviews. And like you said, DA, you get some disgruntled readers like, you son of a bitch, why'd you kill him off? It was a great one until you killed off my favorite character. But I mean, here's the thing, man, it's going to keep them coming back for more. I mean, we're kind of gluttons for punishment in that respect as a reader, because I'm a voracious reader, man. I have been reading books ever since I could pick one up, and I started reading when I was 5 years old, and I love reading. It takes me to another place, another journey. I can, whatever's going on in my life at the time, I've read books in combat zones, just because it was kind of like my escape, from all the crap that was going on around. So yeah, it's awesome to see y'all progress. So
yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Carrie. I mean, I didn't have an excuse to read. I just enjoyed it. No surprise to anyone on our podcast. I was kind of a nerdy kid, and the books were my friends, because the books didn't expect anything of me, and I'm still, I was very reluctant to buy a Kindle, because I love the feel and the smell of the paper books.
Yeah.
And I got to the point my wife finally said, "You buy any more books, we're gonna have to find another place to live."
Exactly.
And, I think I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And so I've got the Kindle, and I've got something like 400 or 500 books on there right now, and I've just added 9 more thanks to Mr. Strong. And it floors me, because those I always read. That's all there was. I read. And my son is 14, and he can't find anything he's interested in reading, and he's like, "You just don't want anything worth reading." I'm like, "I've got 400 books. How's there not a damn thing you want to read?"
Exactly. And I was bullied as a kid because I was a nerd. Still am. I'm more of a geek, because geeks have social skills. But you're
definitely a geek. You got a beautiful wife, so clearly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's totally hot. I punted way outside of coverage on that one. But
she just married down as well.
Oh, dude, yeah, she did. She had pity. She had pity on me for sure. But the way I look at it, books didn't give me wedgies. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I think she liked you because you're pocket sized.
Exactly. We're both pocket sized, and we're both fun sized. But that's the cool thing. And it's like the research y'all put in these books. That was something I was going to ask you, Anthony. DA does a lot of research on the cryptids and things like that. So in your books, where do you go for your research on the different books that you write?
Oh goodness. Obviously the internet is the go-to, various different sites. I also have a bookshelf that's full of books on unsolved mysteries and cryptids and all sorts of weird things in general. Or rather say my wife has books on mysticism and various other things like that. So I'll pull those down. I mean, there was this, and I think I've got it here. It's called, let's see. I can't see it now. There's a book that my father got years ago, an old Reader's Digest book. I think it was called Mysteries of the Unexplained or something like that. And it had all sorts of these unsolved things in it, like the Yeti and all sorts of things, from ghosts through disappearances, all that kind of stuff. And I read that so much. And then I found a copy of it in a thrift store probably about 10 years ago over here, and I bought it. And I'll still thumb through that thing to get inspiration for different things to put in my books. But mostly it's the internet and my search history. You know, I've joked with my wife before, especially with the crime stuff, that, you know, if the FBI ever checked my search history, I'd be in jail. So
I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
I'm certain I've made a few federal watch lists.
Yeah.
See, this is the real reason I can't write, DA. I'm already on the watch list.
There was one scene in the Ragnarok books where the main character causes an explosion that takes out the spillway of a dam. And my grandfather, ironically, my grandfather helped build that dam. It's Bagnell Dam up on Lake of the Ozarks.
That's cool.
And when I was getting ready to write that scene, I was a deputy sheriff at the time, and I happened to run across a guy that worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm like, hey, can I ask you a question? It's going to seem weird. He's like, okay. I'm like, how much explosives would it take to take out Bagnell Dam? And he's like, why the hell do you need to know that?
Whoa.
So then I explained it to him, and showed him pulled up my books on my phone and showed him the books and explained it to him. He's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. You couldn't truck in enough explosives to take that dam out. You need a nuke to get it. He says, but I can tell you how to get the spillway, and the spillway's good enough. He's like, well, the thing is, you cannot mention my name.
That's hilarious.
So we settled for the spillway,
and it worked.
That's good. This is strictly for informational purposes.
Please do not mention
my
name.
God. Yeah. It's amazing. The scary places that writers go, and then you look at these situations where the government reaches out to them, and they're like, "Don't publish this," or whatnot.
Yeah, you're hitting a little too close to home there, buddy. You may you want to redact that or just completely change it all the way.
Yeah. Well, it's like Dio was talking earlier. There's something in his books that's kind of a portable forward operating base.
Yeah.
And he
I swear to God, I just made those up.
Yeah, so
I really did.
Where did you get this stuff?
I looked at current tech and went, I know we can do this. Yeah. It wouldn't take a whole lot for us to be able to do this. And when I introduced those in the books, I got a phone call from a buddy of mine that's still in Special Forces. He's like, how did you know about those? Those are classified. I'm like, I didn't. I just made it up.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you're making a few people nervous with that crap.
Yeah, because I was even telling DA that we used those. Hell, we were using those back in the late 90s. Not those exact things, but a very similar setup. Not as technological.
And I had no idea. I just
where was it you got out of the military, DA? Was it late 80s?
Late 80s.
He's military intelligence, so he had a little bit of knowledge that the rest of us didn't find out about until the 90s.
Military intelligence is like saying jumbo shrimp or Free Will Baptist or
oh my God,
United Methodist.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
It is interesting getting those phone calls and the whatnot.
This is funny. Juan Vargas says, FYI, Mr. Roberts in Arizona, Margolin would hug the cactus. Yeah, he's that guy.
He probably would. He probably would.
That might not be the only thing he tried to do to a cactus.
The boy's just too dumb to quit, man. As we say down home, bless his heart.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's dumb, but you love him anyway, and you appreciate his dedication.
He is. He's hilarious. Now, what kind of tech stuff do you use? Is it all based on Anthony? This is a question for you. Is it based on current tech? Is it fictional tech? Like some of the stuff DA has in his book that's fictional.
It's mostly fictional. I try to research tech and get it right, but I generally don't even get guns right in the book half the time. So, and then my fans let me know about that. So, but yeah,
I'm your Huckleberry if you need that. If you need any kind of medical or firearms advice, I teach for
Doc is the guy.
I teach for a very reputable. I can't mention her name because I'm an employee with them, but I teach for a very reputable firearm manufacturer at one of their training academies up in the Northeast, where you have a home.
We'll just say it's a significant company.
But yeah, no, I tend to make up most of the tech, and I try to ground it in a smattering of reality, and then just go my own way, because that way I can just say it's made up, and then no one out there points out all the errors I made.
Perfect.
There you go.
Awesome.
So I obviously you're from the UK. We were talking about that before the show. Your accent kind of gives you away. What brought you to the States?
I actually I met a girl that was American. Well, I guess she still is American, really. I met an American girl. And,
I'm sorry. I love the understanding humor.
So, yeah, I met an American girl, and not my current wife, the one before that. She, we were going to live in England originally, and she came over, and she came over in the summer, which is kind of like winter everywhere else in the world in England. And so it wasn't too bad. We got the apartment, we settled in. And then when winter came, the first time it snowed, she was a Florida girl. So the first time it snowed, she said, "Nope, we're not living here." So she changed her mind, and that was that. And we came over here, and that was end of 98. I came over, and I've been here ever since.
Well, we're glad to have you.
I
had the opposite reaction. When my wife and I had our one trip we got to make to the UK, we got a wonderful deal to take a trip to Cornwall in January, and of course, here in Missouri, we have two temperatures. We have cremate and meat locker, and nothing in between. And so being in Cornwall in January, like, oh, it's 55 degrees. This is wonderful. I appreciate this. And then we came back, it was like 12. But
Missouri weather is bipolar on a good day. Most places get 4 seasons in a year. We sometimes get 4 seasons in the span of an afternoon.
Yeah, that sounds like Colorado. If you're tired of the weather, just wait 15 minutes; it'll change. Because I did the same thing, Anthony. I moved. My wife and I grew up together, 2.5 miles down the road from each other in Mississippi. Not related. And just always like to throw that. Always like to throw disclaimer. Hey, yeah, pretty sure. I always like to throw a disclaimer out. But when we got married, she moved out to Colorado, and she had been all over the world, but had never left Mississippi, right? And she was a beach girl, a lot of family in Florida, and she moved out here. And our first winter here, it was one of the most brutal winters we had. And I've been out here, 18, almost 19 years now, and she called it the ice planet Hoth, lovingly. So she's like, she walked outside. She's like, screw this. I'm going back to Mississippi, man. So right there with you.
Colorado's a weird place. I've only had the pleasure of being out there once, and I want to go back. But I was in Rocky Mountain National Park in May, and I remember that I was walking on the glacier. It was like the end of May, and I'm walking on ice. And y'all have these weird little beaver looking things that bark at you, and little marmots,
yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is this place? And then I discovered a moose, and then I was like, oh hell no. Yeah. Being born and raised in Missouri, I've literally spent the entire 45 years of my life within 200 miles of where I was born. I got some weird stuff out there, but I want to go back and see it.
I was in Rocky Mountain National a number of years ago. It was before I was married, and it's me and some buddies of mine. We were hiking, and we rounded a corner on this trail, and there's a bear right in the middle of the trail. And I'm like, whatever you do, guys, don't run. And all I hear is and I kind of glance back, and I'm literally the only one left on the trail. But fortunately, Mr. Bear and I just kind of looked at each other and went our own way.
Oh my God!
It wasn't hungry, and I wasn't edible, apparently.
That's hilarious, man.
I told it I was high in LDL cholesterol. I was the bad kind.
I'm not a good snack. I'm not a good
No.
snack.
You
Oh
give
my
yourself
gosh.
a high blood pressure. Stay away from me.
Oh my gosh. Whew. Yeah.
Anthony, where do you draw inspiration from for your books?
I do a lot where I'll look at like I said, I'll just grab a book off the shelf and a nonfiction book and look at some of the weird stuff that's out there and I guess I base a lot of them on just stuff that I've always liked. Like I've always had a fascination with Jack the Ripper, so that was a no-brainer. I've always had an interest in things like submarines and things like not really submarines as much as shipwrecks and you know where they dive on shipwrecks and things like that. So I did Black Tide, which was a Nazi submarine at the bottom of the ocean that had been there, that they discover that's still in pristine condition, like as if it just sank yesterday. So I draw most of it from really from just things that I like, things I have an interest in, because I don't really want to write about the stuff I don't have an interest in. And most of that stuff just happens to be weird and strange and a little bit oddball. So that's really where I get my inspiration mostly. And sometimes just, you know, I'll be reading something and I'll think, oh, that makes a good book. You know, you can be just reading a news article and something will just come to you and you'll think, wow, that would make a good story if you just tweak it here and do there. That would be the basis of a good story.
Anthony, what is your take on the theory that Jack the Ripper actually came to the U.S. because there were some murders?
H.H. Holmes.
There were, yes.
Yeah,
I kind of like the idea.
Ripper-esque.
I'm not sure I believe it, but there certainly is, at least if you believe, you know, if you look at the evidence, there's certainly some evidence that at least one of the suspects might have come to the US and carried on over here. There were some murders in New York that they think might be attributed to the Ripper. In fact, I think one of the suspects was an American. I can't remember his name, but one of the
He was a fake doctor.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I think it was like
Tumblety
or something like that. I can't remember his name. It's a weird name.
Right.
He lived and died in St. Louis.
Yeah, and so
right.
he was a suspect for a while. So I kind of like the idea that it would be interesting if they ever found any real solid evidence that he had, because, you know, obviously they don't really know why he stopped the killings. But there's really only two, you know, given what we now know about serial killers, there's really only two ways he stopped. He either moved on somewhere else or he died.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark Napier has a good point. Kolchak the Night Stalker had the first supernatural appearance of Jack the Ripper. That was a great episode of Kolchak. Do you think he only killed the canonical 5, or do you include the others?
I think there's others. There might even be ones that just aren't attributed at all in any way, shape, or form.
He was evolving. I mean, even in the canonical 5, he was already showing signs of evolving.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, he
I can't imagine
just enough.
I can't imagine that he started with that 5 and then just said, "Okay, I'm done." You know, that's enough. So yeah, I think he definitely killed more people, probably a lot more people, but I don't know why there aren't more that are definitely attributed to him. But yeah, I think he killed more than the canonical 5. Absolutely.
I like the theory that Jack the Ripper was H.H. Holmes, because that explains so much of the pathology behind H.H. Holmes.
It does.
He was absolutely terrifying in the things he did.
He was.
And you know, you can see shades of the Ripper in that, even if the Ripper was only his inspiration, because he was doing vivisection, he was doing weird
Yes.
experiments,
Oh, yeah.
dissolving bodies in acid
Mhm.
and crazy things like that. So yeah, I think Holmes, I think H.H. Holmes was either Jack the Ripper had moved to the United States, or he developed his pathology based on the Ripper.
He was certainly a fan,
Copycat.
if nothing else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I was thinking, because all of his killings were very, like I said, very Ripper-esque, you
Mhm.
know, in the manner, and you know, I think it's a cool premise that he moved over, you know, because the heat was on. Scotland Yard was, you know, he was feeling the heat from those guys. So what better way than to take a new identity, take a steamer to America and continue on.
And of course, Holmes, I believe he was doing all of his killings in a hotel.
Yep.
So, you know,
Murder House.
Yeah, if
Oh,
you
my
look
God.
at the last Ripper killing, where he moves it from the streets into a private residence and spends probably hours doing his business with that woman.
For more privacy and time with the victim.
That could very well, if you want to go down the H.H. Holmes theory, that could very well account for why he decides a hotel kind of thing would be a great place to do that. You know, he would have discovered that it's probably easier for him and more fun to do it where he's not risking being caught.
Absolutely, man. And Naoma, yeah, that was a good comment from Naoma. I did not know that. That's really weird.
Yeah, he was a bizarre individual. I know we could talk about the Ripper all night, but I wanted to bring up something that we were discussing before we went live, and that was your Grendel's Labyrinth. I really like your take on the old Beowulf legend. I think that is really unique, and I can't wait to get to that book. Like I said, I want to read them all in sequence, but I'm really excited to read that one. That one's what, book 4?
Yeah.
Yes. Let me see. 1, 2. Yes, I believe it is book. No, book. I don't know. I only wrote them.
I'll do that sometimes when people ask me a question about a book. I'm like, I don't know. That's like 8 books
4.
ago.
Yes, book 4.
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, the Grendel stuff again. It comes down to taking inspiration from things that you have an interest in, and I always thought Grendel was a cool monster, a cool character. And you know, obviously there's Grendel's mother, who in the original story is never named, other than being Grendel's mother. But she was also kind of a terrifying creature in her own right. So it was kind of interesting to take that, and I didn't really want to go the obvious route with it. So I thought, well, you know, if you move it to Ireland, it's kind of a bit unexpected, and even if the premise of why he was moved to Ireland doesn't necessarily make a bunch of sense, it does make a good book. So, you know, having him entombed under an old abbey, and the villagers feeding him for over 1,000 years, because you know, it starts with the monks feeding him, and they don't really know what to do with him, so that the Danes entomb him, and then that the villagers just stuck with this creature that won't die, that they keep having to feed, or else they're in trouble. So that I like the idea of that. So like I said, I like looking at the finding interesting characters from other areas and changing them a bit.
Nice.
Well, I think the premise behind Beowulf and Grendel, I think Grendel is a terrifying creature.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you read the descriptions, it's shades of a Bigfoot type creature.
It is.
It's enormously powerful. It's covered in hair, foul stench. I mean, it's straight out of the pages of a Bigfoot story.
Now, I will say the Danes weren't terribly smart. I mean, you know, he shows up every night and kills them every time they try and have a party, and not once do they think of moving the party.
He's gonna suck the marrow from our bones. Screw it. Give me another horn of mead.
Strike up the band.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of falls in line with Peter Sellers. It's a bum. Were you expecting one? Hey, bum.
Yeah, and Derek Buckles has a good question for you, Anthony. He said, "Does Anthony have a historical detective or police officer as an inspiration for his Decker character?"
I actually don't. I think probably there's a very slight shade of maybe a Sherlock Holmes in it, but not very much because he doesn't really do a ton of deducting like that. But he's really more just an amalgam of all the different characters I've read in other books and the characters I've seen on TV, and it all gets smashed together, and then we get John Decker. So I wouldn't say there's one particular or even a couple of particular characters or historical figures that he's based on. No.
Okay. Tell everybody he's the love child of Hercule Poirot and Dirk Pitt.
There you go.
That might be my next blurb on the back of the next book.
Naoma had a good one, man. The Danes were apparently all teens. When the cops show up every time they have a kegger, you'd think they'd be smart enough to quit partying.
Or at least move it farther in the woods.
Exactly, man. Don't build a fire here, dude.
That's hilarious.
Oh my, never a dull moment with Naoma.
She keeps it interesting.
Mercy.
We one of the Winter Olympics going on, we've been kind of following that. And the other day, me and my sons were talking about it, and I said, you're not seeing a whole lot out of the Scandinavian teams. And my youngest son, without missing a beat, looks at me and goes, "Yeah, you haven't heard much since the Viking rowing team took gold at Lindisfarne."
Oh, Lord.
That's good. That's good. Nice historical reference.
He's a little smart aleck, just like his dad.
I like that.
I was going to say, that's definitely your son.
The apple did not fall far from the tree.
Annette says almost the same thing.
I love it.
I like it when they're our kids and they do something that displeases the other
they blame
parents.
It on me.
Yeah, exactly. He's your kid.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
You said you do some true crime as well, and you said you wrote those under a pen name. What are those available under?
It's actually not true crime. It's mystery thrillers, crime thrillers.
Oh, okay.
And they're under a slight pen name. I write them under the name A.M. Strong. So, and those are basically it's a new series I've started. It's about an FBI agent whose sister goes missing back when she's a teenager, back when the agent is a teenager, and then when the agent grows up, she finds new information out, and she starts to she goes to look for her sister. Her sister was on a road trip, went missing, and along the way, the FBI agent encounters, in the first book, she encounters a serial killer who's been taking girls and leaving them chained up in abandoned cars to die. So it gets a bit dark, but it's basically your average FBI agent out there hunting bad guys books. And the idea was that we could do it almost like a road trip book, or a road trip series, sorry, where each book she's got the overarching story of looking for her sister, who she's found new information out about. But each book will also be a standalone with a story that in each city she visits, as she's following her sister's trail across the country, she'll get involved in investigations and dangerous situations along the way, and each book will be a standalone as well.
Awesome.
That sounds pretty cool.
Good night, Irene. She just told everybody good night. Everybody in the chat. I just shared links to both of Anthony's author pages, the A.M. Strong and the Anthony M. Strong. So if you're interested in the crime novels, you get the link. The link is the second one that I posted. But definitely check every one of those out. And you can also follow authors on Amazon, and that will give you an email update whenever they release a new book. So make sure you check out his books and hit that follow button on Amazon, so you'll find out whenever he releases a new novel. Werewolf says those sound good. So, are you going to branch out into any other series, or are you going to concentrate on these two for a while?
I will concentrate on these two. There's only so much time to write, and I probably shouldn't have branched out into a different series right now. I should have probably just kept it straight down the middle of the road with Decker. But I've got so many stories and ideas for stories. It's frustrating. I feel like if I could clone me and have 6 of me sitting at different computers, that would be wonderful.
I always joke to say if they could just install a port behind my ear where I could just hook directly into the computer and download all the stories, I'd be in a lot better shape.
I'm convinced you live with your computer as it is.
Come close. I probably spend 8 hours a day on the keyboard.
It's coming, man. Just wait for Neuralink. Just wait for Neuralink. It's coming. Just plug right into the matrix.
Be my luck, I'll develop a short, and I'll be constantly talking to people like.
That would be.
I don't have a Twitch.
What
I
Twitch?
can quit at any time.
What Twitch?
Quit at any time. Famous last words.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, Anthony, you said you got another one on pre-order.
Yeah.
Are you going to be? When's that one getting released?
I've actually got 2 on pre-order. I've got the second crime book is on pre-order. That one is coming out in March. I think March the 20th. And then the next Decker book is coming out in August, which my fans are not happy about because I left them with a cliffhanger. So they've got till August to wait for that one. So March and August, and in the meantime there will be we'll probably work on a few more books and get those started as well, and hopefully do a few more releases this year as well, either in the Decker universe or we're also going to do a couple more of the straight crime books as well.
Wow, busy fellow, man. That sounds good stuff.
Yeah, I think we've got about 6 books on the slate for this year. Which is a lot of writing, so it's ambitious. Yeah.
Wow. Heck yeah.
So let's say, for just sake of argument, that the stars align, the light comes down from the sky, Netflix calls you and they said, we're turning the Decker books into a series. Who would you cast as Decker?
I don't know.
Sorry to put you on the spotlight.
Yeah, no, that is putting me on the spot. I don't know who I'd cast as Decker. Most of the actors that I used to like are like 70 now. So, if I say Bruce Willis, he's going to be breaking bones while he's chasing the werewolf. So,
broke a hip.
Tom Hardy.
Ooh,
yeah, no, he would work.
Tom Hardy's a great actor.
Tom Hardy, and he's very versatile. Is Decker English or is he American?
Decker's American.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he could do a great American accent. So.
Oh yeah. I just watched the newest Venom movie, and it took me a little bit to get past Tom Hardy doing a Queen's accent. I was pleased with it. Of course, Woody Harrelson's amazing in there because it's Woody
Harrelson plays crazy well. Of course, then again, so does Tom Hardy. I mean, the book where he played the twin brothers, the Cray brothers.
Legend.
He played crazy. Yeah, legend.
Dude.
He played crazy very well.
Yeah, that was a great that was a great film, man.
And there was another one where he played a prisoner. A British prisoner that was notorious for being just absolutely back guano crazy, and I can't remember the name of that one.
I can't.
But a really good movie. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, he's great in the Venom movies, the Marvel movies. He plays an American, and he's got it down solid. He'd be a good one there, Anthony. He'd be a good
He
one.
would. So someone actually, Mark Napier just said, "I like Nathan Fillion." I can see Nathan Fillion doing it. That would be
Fillion's
fun
a great
too.
actor.
Yeah, shiny.
He's a wonderful actor.
Yeah,
Shiny.
Everything's shiny.
Everything's shiny. In the whole Gar-Ram universe.
They need to bring that show back.
Oh,
Definitely.
they do.
They're saying they're going to reboot it, but
man,
they've been saying that for years. Though.
Well, supposedly Disney's got the rights to do it now, so that means it's
not
probably going to be
then.
ruined.
I mean, they
It's
can't
probably going to be ruined.
They got to bring Adam Baldwin back as Jane. Don't damage my calm. I love that dude. I've got a T-shirt with him, and I've got my Jane hat that a friend of mine knitted for me. So it's perfect. Perfect.
Funny.
Sits rather cunning.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh man, yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Every once in a while, my wife will just look at me out of the blue and go, "I think it's time." I'm like, "Time for what?" "To watch Firefly again." I'm like, "Okay, get the DVD set. We'll do it again."
Yeah.
Great show, man. A great show.
It was.
I mean, over the years, it's one of those series that wasn't appreciated when it was on, and now you've got a whole generation of people that are white coats at heart, or I'm not white coats, brown coats at heart.
Yep.
Susan Perez says, "What about Liam Neeson?" He plays crazy rather well too.
Yeah, he does.
I think in his case, I'm not sure it's a stretch. I think he's a little out there.
Well, the problem with Liam Neeson is I cannot unsee him in was it 1,000 Ways to Live and Die in the West?
Yeah.
Once you see Liam Neeson with a flower in his butt crack, you just nothing's the same after that.
Oh my god, I forgot about that scene. Oh my god.
I didn't do it until he mentioned it.
I did. Thanks for bringing that bad memory up there.
Yeah.
So,
there you go. You can't drink that one away.
Not enough mental flaw to get that out of your mind's eye.
Oh my god. Well, and Liam Neeson's great, but like Anthony said, all the actors you think of, I mean, these guys are, they're not young anymore. None of us are, but they're not getting any younger. So yeah,
it's funny that they mentioned Liam Neeson, because one of his first roles in a movie was in the movie adaptation of the book A Prayer for the Dying. He played an IRA gunman.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's right. I forgot all about that too.
That was one of his first roles.
Huh. Yeah. Oh, Naoma.
Never seen Firefly? I don't think we can be friends anymore.
Oh, Naoma. But you know what? It's a funny thing. My wife's never seen Firefly or the movie Serenity. So I've got to get her educated. When I wear my Jane shirt, she's like, "Who the hell is that? Damage my calm." So yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
I told my wife when I bought my Keltec I was going to name it Vera, and she told me I better not.
I love it.
That's awesome, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Werewolf said Disney could never do it right. Yeah. I'm just waiting for them to screw up everything they do.
Sonia Sargent has it right. She says, "Agreed. They'll stick some cute fluffy thing in there for merchandising opportunities."
Yep. I might not have a Baby Yoda.
Yeah, we have Disney tickets, and you can't turn around without hitting a Baby Yoda at Disney World.
My wife's been planning a trip to Disney World for a while now. We're supposed to be going sometime later this year, assuming the Black Plague of the 21st century doesn't do us in. She was asking.
That's my grandkids.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
My wife was asking my sons and I if we wanted to do the build a lightsaber thing, because it's a little pricey to build a lightsaber.
It is expensive.
So we're all going to do it, but we were kind of discussing which one, and I said, hands down, I'm building a dark saber. It's just going to happen.
There you go.
It's more fitting for me anyway.
Well, it's nice to see that while they're on the subject of Star Wars, as much as Disney has ruined Star Wars, what is his name? Forgive me, I just went blank. The gentleman that does the Mandalorian.
Dave Filoni or
Happy from.
Oh yeah, Happy Hogan. I can't ever think of his name.
The actual actor that does Mandalorian.
No, not that plays the Mandalorian.
No, the guy that does the directing.
Okay.
John Favreau.
John Favreau.
Yeah, John Favreau.
Thank you. For as much as Disney as a whole has ruined it, John Favreau has fixed it. As much as he can. He's done some amazing things with Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, and what he did with the new trilogy could not.
Also A Million Ways to Die in the West. He did that one as well. So the flower in Liam Neeson's butt crack.
We got John Favreau to thank for that.
No, that was Seth MacFarlane. My bad. That was Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane.
Thanks a lot, John.
Oh man.
Well, folks, if you guys haven't had a chance to, or if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button and hit that little bell icon there so you'll be alerted anytime we go live. And also, if you have not had a chance to check the links out that we've posted, make sure you're checking out the links for Mr. Strong's work on Amazon and follow him there as well. And definitely recommend his books if you guys are looking for a good action book to read.
Oh my goodness.
Anthony says, what about the brothers from Boondock Saints?
That'd be good.
Norman Reedus and Patrick Flannery.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a good movie. The second one, not so much.
Yeah, second one kind of sucked.
The second one was kind of like Highlander 2.
Oh,
That was painful.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think in Boondock Saints, who really stole the show was Willem Dafoe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He always steals the show.
Willem Dafoe was awesome.
He was fantastic in Boondock Saints.
And I just have to say, Willem Dafoe was not an attractive man.
No.
And he was even less so as a woman.
Yeah. He was not
a pretty woman. Reason I saw the newest Spider-Man film was because they brought Willem Dafoe back.
He's a great actor. Weird, but a great actor.
He is an odd duck, but he is a phenomenal actor.
John Malkovich. That's another weird dude.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's strange. Josh said Norman Reedus is the very strong rumor to play Johnny Blaze in the Ghost Rider reboot.
What? They're going to replace Nicolas Cage? Come on, no.
Yeah. And Anthony, in your time in New Orleans, did you ever go to the St. Louis Cemetery and see Nicolas Cage's mausoleum he's got built there, the pyramid?
I saw a pyramid. I didn't know Nicolas Cage wanted to be buried in it, but
that's his. He bought it.
Really?
Had it built and everything. Yeah.
That's a bit creepy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, come on, look who you're talking about here. So
it's a bit creepy.
Yeah, a little bit weird.
AJ Congdon had a good question. He said, DA, how close are we to the next subscriber milestone? We are 11 away from 2,000. So we are very close. And I just got an email from Craig over at Scallywag Tactical. I've got a box of stuff on the way to be handing out in giveaways. So Pocket Doc has got some stuff. I'm going to give away some autographed books. When we hit the 2,000, it's going to be a big night, folks.
Yep. It's going to be good stuff. Phew.
11 away. We could theoretically do it before Wednesday.
Yes. Oh, man. That was a good comment from Susan Perez.
Thank you, Susan.
That's probably the biggest compliment that a writer could get right there.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I keep writing.
Yeah.
Sonia Sargent said she just subscribed. That's awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
10 away.
There you
go. I guess Naoma's hearing that little bit of an echo we keep hearing. Says, can we guys do the Luke Herring speech? I didn't think it was quite that bad. Today.
Oh my God. She gets so esoteric with her Her
Her references.
She's hilarious, man. Derek has a good question for you, Anthony. Do you have a YouTube channel?
No, but I probably should. I don't know what I put on it, but I probably should.
We don't know what we do either. We just
Well, you're certainly welcome back here anytime you like.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That'd be great.
I think I speak for all three of us when I can say I thoroughly have enjoyed hanging out with you tonight, Mr. Strong. It's been
me too. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been a great show, and great show. This has been. It's been. I mean, honestly, man, great questions from the chat. This has been. That's been good interaction with everybody. I like it when it's like that. Keep everybody engaged.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Well, folks, we are coming up on the 2-hour mark, so we are probably going to start wrapping things up. Anthony, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You've been a great sport putting up with our idiotic antics and answering all kinds of crazy questions. And we're not even drunk. I'm stone cold sober.
I've only had one drink. I'm sober as a pope, kind of.
Yeah, I am sober and out of
That's
alcohol, which is a tragical situation.
Tragical. I like that.
Tragical. I like that's the quote of the night.
It is. Anthony, it's been a pleasure meeting you, man.
You too. Thank you very much for having me.
Once again, folks, the links are in the chat, and I can post them again if you need them. But follow both of his author pages on Amazon and check out both series. They're all available on Amazon, and you can get all of the Decker novels in one bundle on Kindle for $35 and change. Which, if you think about it, that's probably a week's worth of entertainment. You can't get HBO for that. That's a fantastic deal for all of that writing, and that is a lot of writing. And I can speak from experience. I'm telling you, that's a lot of writing for 9 books.
Yeah.
So check those out.
Like $4
show them
apiece,
some
give or
love
take.
and let them know we sent you.
Sonia, I turned the baby Yoda around just for you.
Poor Grogu. Can't get any love in Doc's house.
Well, Mr. Strong, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Again, like I said, anytime you want to come back, let us know. When you're about to drop the new book, if you'd like to come on and promote it, we would love to have you back. Just shoot me a message, and we are happy to have you back anytime. Well, sir, I hope you have a great night. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, too.
Thank you again for coming, sir.
Nice to meet you, Anthony.
Bye.
Have a good night, sir. Doc, do you have a kit to show us tonight before we go anywhere?
Well, I've got the components. You've got the kit there. That EDC kit you got. Because I left mine at the shop. I had it in my class box from my class this weekend in Texas. So the EDC kit, we call it our everyday carry kit because it'll fit in a cargo pocket, or to fit on a belt, or to fit on Molly gear, like on a plate carrier or something like that. With my EDC kit, I made it to where it has like I always talk about, my top five items. I've got my gloves. I have got a roll of Quick Clot in there. I've got 2 chest seals in it, and a compression bandage, and a tourniquet. So this is a training cat, but you can get it with a cat or a soft tee. The one DA's carrying is roughly 12 ounces, and it's in a vacuum sealed, little vacuum sealed bag, 3.5 mil thick bag. And to be honest with you, it's one of our best sellers out there. We got it in black, red, multicam, coyote tan, and ranger green. You don't see any of the guys in the team mode or team wild, the wild hunt guys running it. They run the darks. They're going to start running the spears.
I've already started mentioning the spears.
Oh, awesome, man. But the EDC kit has been one of our best sellers simply because it's so lightweight. It's so compact. You can carry it in pretty much anything. And it's attachable in various mounting capabilities. And you've got your cheap life insurance right there. With a tourniquet, everything, it retails for like $130. And if you use Cryptid 25, Tell them, hey, I saw you on DA Roberts show, DAX Machina, darkangelmedical.com, and use Cryptid25. That'll give you 25% off. That's a lot. Number one. Number two, if you use a kit to save somebody's life, you let me know. You send me an email and let us know the circumstances, and you send us the unused components, because if you send us the used components, that's just gross. You send me the unused components. We'll inspect them, make sure they're still serviceable, and we'll repack everything along with the components you used, reseal it, and send it back to you 100% free of charge. It's called our Kit for Life Guarantee, and I'm very happy to say we've replaced over 135 kits in the last 10 years. So that's pretty freaking rad. Derek Buckles has a question. Carrie, how does one know when to use a chest seal? All right, man. So I'm going to show you a quick diagram here. I keep things simple. This right here is I call him my trauma man. Tourniquet the limbs, pack the junctions, seal the box. Anytime, and the tourniquet on the limbs, the junctions, or anything that meet the thorax of the body, and those are junctional injuries that you can't tourniquet off. You got to pack them with a quick clot. Anytime anyone has any kind of penetrating trauma to the box, that's from the collarbone down to the belly button, we're going to seal that sucker up, because we don't know where that wound channel is going. If that wound channel tracks up from the abdomen up into the pleural space, and Steve can back this up because he's been a registered nurse for a long time. If that wound track comes up, you can get what's called an air dissection. You could actually get air pulling into where the lungs live, and that's bad. So what I'm doing is I'm sealing up any hole from here down to my pelvis all the way around, and that's when I'm going to put that chest seal. Especially if you see bubbles. If you see bubbles, you got troubles. So you need to slap that. You need to slap that chest seal on any or anything non-porous on that hole. More importantly, come to one of my classes, because we got those on darkangelmedical.com too. Come to one of my classes. It's a 2-day class, but it'll make a difference in your life. I guarantee you.
At the very least, if you can't make it to a class, watch the videos on his
Yes.
YouTube channel.
Yes.
Some of those, there's some fantastic information on YouTube videos.
Yep. Thank you, DA. And we've got free online training videos available on our website. And Juana Vargas says, which is the ouch pouch? Juana, the ouch pouch is strictly your Band-Aids, your burn gel, sunscreen, things like that for minor stuff. And that comes in
Basic first aid kit.
Yes, it's a very basic first aid kit. This is the EDC kit components are for your trauma. That's considered kind of like a patch kit for people. Keeps everything sealed up, keeps the blood inside the body and the air going in and out. So that's what that is. Yeah, and Mark Napier says, yeah, don't forget to check the sides of the body. 100%, man. That's why I say all the way around, all the way around. One thing I say when I talk about doing blood sweeps in class is don't forget the cracks, the crevices, and the folds, because those can hide injuries, and you might miss something if you don't look.
Hooter Transport says, hey, Doc, I gave my brother his spear kit for Christmas and stuffed it with Hello Kitty Band-Aids. He didn't hit me because it was Christmas.
I love it, man. I love it. Hey, Hooter, dude, I put the Hello Kitty Band-Aids in my ouch pouch, so when I'm teaching classes up at SIG on the range, if somebody gets a slide bite or a little boo-boo, they get a Hello Kitty Band-Aid. That's my bit of love.
Lene Perkins says, Carrie, are you who DA used for the Pocket Doc in the Wild Hunt series?
Oh,
yes, he is.
Yes, ma'am.
He is the one that uttered the famous line, "It's having angry sex with my snowmobile."
We got to make that a T-shirt.
It's got to be a T-shirt. Speaking of T-shirts, I just got this today.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Embrace the topic.
Embrace the topic.
Be a nice change.
Just arrived today.
Embrace the topic. I love it, man. I love it.
It goes with my coffee mug, but the coffee mug was dirty.
I saw the coffee mug last show, and Derek Buckle says, looking into training, I'm gonna try to go deer hunting this fall. So more knowledge is good for me. I cannot even begin to emphasize how important it is to have good, solid medical training, especially if you're out in the woods. Because DA and Steve and I both talked about this. It's any situation you find yourself in, you're way more liable to use a med kit. If you're out looking for cryptids out in East BFE, how far away are you from the ambulance? How far away from the hospital?
Do
Cell
you even
service.
get a phone signal?
Yeah, can you even get a freaking phone signal? So
Sure.
you're 911. You're it, man. You're your own first responder. Nobody's coming to save you, and it's up to you to make the difference in your life.
When I
So
was when I was in LBL back in July, there was no place in northern LBL I got a cell signal. None.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's the places that you and I are going to go. And Steve, if you come out here to Colorado and we go looking for the Sam Squanch or the Wendigo, dude, there's places out here absolutely zero cell signal.
Yeah.
And Anthony asked a question on the Wild Hunt logo patches. Dude, I'm trying. I'm working on that. I have emailed my patch guy several times. DA's emailed him. I don't know if he fell into a void or in an interdimensional wormhole or something like that, but we're working on that. Faux show.
Got a new toy today, Doc.
Oh, desire to know more intensifies. What you get?
It's from Cold Steel.
Oh boy.
Little punch dagger.
Oh.
And it is wicked sharp too.
Oh.
It'll take hair off your arm. Got to be careful doing that. I cut myself pretty bad doing that one time.
I was going to say, at least you haven't tried to do it this time, because that
Yeah,
went
I'm not
so
gonna.
well the last time.
Dude.
I learned my lesson.
Ended up with another hole you weren't born with.
Thank God
Yeah,
you had one of Carrie's kits.
I had to wrap a washcloth around my wrist for like the rest of the show because it wouldn't quit bleeding.
DA examinating on our show.
Oh my God.
That's
man.
a plug for Dark Angel Medical.
You know it's sharp when you're like trying to shave hair and it takes like a layer of skin and it doesn't bleed at first. I'm like, oh shit, that's gonna bleed.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
He filleted himself like Gordon Ramsay.
That's bad, man. That's bad. Anthony, you're not. It's no worries, man. DA and I have been trying to get these patches done for months.
Yeah, months.
Long time. Yeah, it's been a long time. So I'm gonna hit it one more time, and we may start looking for another patch guy.
I'll say I am very excited to have the prototype. If only we're all in one color, that would be on my field jacket.
The color
right
was
now.
bad.
Yeah.
Josh, Adam is supposed to be getting you the artwork for the Angry Sex with the Snowmobile shirt.
That's gonna be awesome. I'm
definitely gonna have to get that shirt.
I'm getting several of those and giving them out as gifts. Oh, show.
Hey, you should sign those because that's your line.
That would be kind of cool. Get it like a silver Sharpie or something.
Well, I'm telling you, when that line came out, I'm like, that's completely Carrie. And I sent it to you like immediately. I'm like, does this sound like you?
Well, it's funny. I was listening to Wild Hunt again on the way back from Texas the other day, and when Cam said, "I'm down like 4 flat tires, brother," I was like, "There's one of my one-liners right there."
There you go.
So, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we'll have to do that. That'd be funny.
Yeah, she'll be all the rage at conventions.
We might have to ship you one of those shirts and have you sign it and give it away on the show.
Hell yeah!
Signed Angry Sex with a Snowmobile.
Hell yeah! I'm down.
T-shirt from Doc himself.
I'm down like a fat kid on a seesaw on that one, man.
Don't worry, those stains are just whiskey.
Oh mercy! Oh Lord! Whew! Oh, that's good. Yeah, that would be a good look on the lower. That would look funny on the lower,
Yeah,
Anthony.
I've been talking to Anthony kind of online a little bit. I need to give him a call. Every time it looks like I'm going to, something freaking comes up. But he's looking at doing laser etching on lowers and slides of Wild Hunt logos. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I need to give him a holler so we can work that out. But having the Team Odin Wild Hunt logo on an AR lower would be pretty badass.
Oh yeah, especially if it had a 458 upper attached to it.
You ain't kidding.
Swing. Yeah, faux show.
Derek Buckle says, DA, you'd made a comment about a collaboration with Cam. Are you able to announce a timer month when the announcement may occur? Cam and I are working on something right now. I don't know if I'm supposed to say. I need to ask him, but he's in the process of doing some narrations of my stuff right now, and there's going to be another Steve Lilly crossover coming up, maybe by I hate to give a firm date. March or April. I've got the book I'm writing right now, and I have a short story that I have to get done for a short story compilation because it's just something I'm dying to do. I mean, I'm not going to make any real money off of it. You really don't on short stories, but just to have my name associated with it, it just because it's like having something come true, a dream come true from when I was a kid. Have a short story I wrote set in that universe. So I can't really announce it yet until they either say yes or no on my short story, but hopefully I get accepted. There we go. Anthony says, "Oh yeah, oh my God, yes, I'm going to be the first one in a 458 SOCOM, Doc." It's not that much.
I got a 458 sitting in my safe right over here, brother. So I'm right there with you. I love it.
Lene says she loved Cam's narration of Odin's Call. Yeah, I did too. I thought Cam did a really good job. Yeah. And I can't wait to hear what he's going to do with the Apex Predator series. And he's also going to be doing the Ragnarok Rising series.
Awesome. That'd be good stuff.
Werewolf's got a good point. He said a lower is an FFL item, but is a stripped lower an FFL item?
Yes, it is.
It is? Yeah. Even a just empty one?
If it is 100%, if it's 100% lower, 100% finished, it is an FFL transferable item, which means you got to get it transferred from one FFL dealer to another FFL dealer, and you pick it up. If it's 80%, that's a different story. But yeah, then you got to get it milled out and all that kind of jazz. But 100% lower is an FFL transferable item.
Derek Buckles says, I hope you do. If it's a science fiction short story, I'm definitely interested. I've got another science fiction project in the works. It's called Man's Marauders. Hopefully I'll have that done before too long. Dude. But I don't really want to say what this short story has to do, but you can kind of figure it out from this being the 50th anniversary of something that that's as far as I'll go. Lenita says Cameron and Naomi did a great video together. Yes, that was an awesome video. That's a really great video. If you guys haven't seen it, let me pull that up and I will post that in the chat as well. Naomi's newest video that she came out with. I am horrible with pronunciation, so I'm probably going to tear it up. Pinot Tirola and the Mono Grande. I'll post that link in there. If you haven't had a chance to like and subscribe to Naoma's channel, check that out. It is an awesome channel. She's telling some great stories over there, and help her channel kind of grow.
Nice.
She's still hasn't got but about a dozen videos out, but they're all awesome, and I think you guys will enjoy those. It's really good storytelling. So head over to her channel and like and subscribe, please.
Yes.
Would certainly appreciate it.
Anthony, I will reach out to DA, and he can reach out to me, and I can give you an FFL over here in the Springs that I use, and I'll buy one from you as well when they come out. And
I've got a place here in town, actually like 4 blocks from the house, where I can get them shipped to.
Heck yeah. Well, boys, I'm about to pee on the fire and call in the dogs. It has been an awesome night. That was a great show.
Always this was a really good show. I loved having Anthony on.
Yeah, he was a great guest. He was a good dude, man. Steve, always good to see you, brother. DA, always good to see you too. Love you much.
Love you too, brother.
And if y'all, yeah, man, if y'all need anything, y'all let me know. Y'all have a good night. I'm out of here.
Tell Angie I said hi.
We'll do it, man. Y'all have a good night.
Later.
See you Wednesday.
See you. Be safe.
Yes, sir.
The awkward silence.
Yeah. Lag. I know I need to be calling it a night too. I have had an absolute blast, but unfortunately my prostate is screaming for mercy, and life gets in the way.
I'm right there with you.
I had a pleasure.
About a 32-ounce cup of coffee, and it's starting to scream my name.
Yeah, I've run out of beverages for a reason.
Well, folks, thank you guys for joining us. I will have the show for Wednesday posted here shortly, probably later tonight. I haven't posted the topic yet, so it should be up later tonight. Next weekend, next Saturday, we are going to have, let me pull that up real fast. We are going to have Brian King Sharp from Sasquatch Odyssey on Spotify. He's got some interesting Bigfoot encounters to share with us, and we'll be talking about his channel and his experiences and his research. That'll be next Saturday night, but I haven't got the topic selected yet for Wednesday. I was kind of waiting to hear from somebody before I, went all in. Otherwise, I'll just have to do something different. But I should be hearing from him tonight or early in the morning about the Wednesday show. So appreciate you guys for hanging with us. I'm really glad you guys jumped in tonight. We had a great time. Anthony was a fantastic guest, and check out his books. His links are in the chat. Great writer, great guy, and look forward to having him on again. And appreciate every one of you guys joining us tonight. And remember, we are 11 away from that 2,000. So like, subscribe, share the videos across your social media, because the more people we attract to the channel, the farther our reach will get. And that helps not just the channel grow, but that helps with the books. That helps everything. That helps us reach a bigger audience. And that's what the goal is to be able to share stories with more people. And I just want to thank each and every one of you guys, as this has been an amazing journey. I've said this many times. I will always say it. Writing and stories are journeys that we take together. And I have been super blessed and amazed to have met some amazing people along this journey. And I want to thank each and every one of you for choosing to take this journey with us. You guys are awesome. I'm really, really proud to know each and every one of you. And it has been an amazing night. Anthony, again, thank you. Doc, thank you. Steve, brother, thank you, brother.
And thanks for the invite.
Anytime. We will see you guys on Wednesday night. Hope you guys have a great night, great weekend, and be safe.
I guess.
Thank you for joining us tonight on DAX Machina. If you ever have an encounter of your own that you wish to discuss, contact us at daroberts@daroberts.net. You can remain completely anonymous if you wish. Pull your covers up tight and keep a nightlight burning bright. Oh, and did you forget to lock your doors?